Boy, it's been a very busy gardening season. I'm trying to catch back up on some of my content, and this one is about the EarthBox gardening system. Let's jump into it. You'll find the container, the aeration screen filled tube and covers, as well as dolomite lime, wheels, and the fertilizer. And if for some reason you don't have the instructions or it got lost somehow, you can always download them online. I wanted to add that this video is not sponsored by EarthBox or any of its affiliates. I am showing you the suggested growing placements for the plants from EarthBox. This instruction manual came with the EarthBox, as I said earlier. It also shows what contents you should have and how to plant it. I wanted to actually create a more in-depth video on how to fill the EarthBox step by step and what I used, but please keep in mind there are so many other potting mixes on the market, but if you ever wonder what kind of potting mix to use for your EarthBox, please check out the EarthBox website under Approved Growing Media. Here I am showing the special plant food from EarthBox, which is 777, or you can use a compatible container fertilizer with an NPK ratio of a 10-10-10. This one I purchased on Amazon from Power Grow Systems, which also worked really well. I used it this year for my cucumbers. Last year I used Sunday's granule tomato and vegetable fertilizer, which also worked really well for my bush beans. The fertilizer used just needs to be a granular formula and not a powder because it's meant to last the whole growing season. Then the fertilizer strip that you had placed in the beginning of the season gets discarded at the end of the growing season. I would like to note, when the EarthBox is filled with the soil and all of the 3 gallons of water, it is very heavy to move for a single person. I would highly recommend that the EarthBox be moved to the final destination before it is filled, unless you have help to move it to another location afterwards. When filling the EarthBox, you want to place the dampened potting mix in the corners because it is a wicking bed. I had a little bit of water in the corners and I just placed the mix right in there and continued to fill the cover of the aeration screen. Also, before you fill the box with soil, make sure to put the water-filled tube so you don't go looking for it later like I just did. After I moistened all the potting mix in the EarthBox, although this isn't a great way to do it, but it is a way to make sure that all the layers are dampened thoroughly. Afterwards, I flattened the layer and then I applied the dolomite lime that was provided with the EarthBox set into 3 to 4 inches on the top of the soil, as you can see here. After the dolomite, I went ahead and added finely ground eggshells for a little extra calcium, and that seemed to do just fine for my peppers this year because I had no signs of blossom end rot on my peppers. After I put the dolomite and eggshells, I went ahead and covered the top of that layer, and then I made a trough down the middle because I am planting 6 pepper plants. That's why I used it in the middle according to the instructions. So here I used the special fertilizer that was provided by EarthBox, and then I cover it. You're actually supposed to make a kind of a rounded top, so this way when water pools up at the top, when you cover it with the black mulch, it just slides right off as well, and it also adds extra space for the tomato roots or the pepper roots or whatever you have growing in there to grow into. It gives it more square footage, essentially. When I completed mounding the soil over the fertilizer strip, I grabbed my hose and I watered it thoroughly. This way, when I do plant my peppers into the media, I don't want to shock them. I want them to grow into the soil itself. You can see here that I'm putting on the black and white plastic mulch. You don't have to use it, but I'm going to use it, and based on my location, which is in the north, I'm using the black side up. Firstly, when you open up the cover, there is a hole on the bottom side, right side usually, but it depends on how you're handling it. Could be on the opposite side, kind of flipped, depending if you're using the white side. This is meant to go over the fill tube. Secondly, you can stretch the cover over the EarthBox on all 4 corners. Reason behind using the cover is 1, it helps keep out the rain from draining your fertilizer, so it's always available for the plants to access. 2, it keeps the weeds out and stops them from stealing the nutrients. 3, it helps your plants get started a slight bit earlier in the growing season, which is beneficial for shorter growing seasons, places like up north in zone 4 or less. For the planting stage here, I created X's into the plastic mulch cover according to the instructions, and then I used my fingers to stretch the plastic a little more and then dug little holes into the dirt and then placed some 444 all-purpose organic fertilizer for the initial boost, because that's the official meal that your plants are going to get until they've established their roots. Then plant your selected plants in each hole, and there you have it. In an earlier portion of the video, you would have seen a eggplant, and I'm so glad I did not plant it because they need more space, like the indeterminate tomatoes. In the next few seconds of the video, you'll see the changes that I had made. So in the back left and back middle, you'll see that there is a marigold and an eggplant. The eggplant is a Burpee Midnight Moon hybrid eggplant, which is quite large. Turned out quite well, actually. I'm quite impressed. And eggplants, tomatoes, and peppers are all part of the nightshade family. They are quite compatible growing together, but they also share some diseases as well. So you gotta keep that in mind when you are growing them in close quarters like that. The main reason why I decided to plant a marigold in that back middle, because number 1, I knew that the eggplant will take up a lot of space, and number 2, I wanted to bring some of the pollinators in, and bees seem to really love marigolds, and marigolds are beneficial for the tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant to be planted nearby each other. So this will probably be the last video of the season, and as you saw, there was a big eggplant as well on the left, and my peppers are actually turning orange. I had saved the seeds from a grocery store pepper and planted them out. Anyway, see you again next time. If you liked this video and got something out of it, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one. Keep on growing.